eligible. Loser will not be. We'll see how things line up here for Nance and his Murfolk deck. He is playing against a blue deck after all, so you know you've got some island walking to be done here. Well, Curse Catcher is how we're going to start things up.
This is another matchup where Harbinger of Tides could potentially be a big player. Can break up the Splinter Twin combo in a couple spots. Particularly good to do through Aether Vial.
Very true. Very true.
You can also pay the full amount. You know, once you're at 4 mana, they're at 4 mana. You might be at 4 mana, and you can just cast it like Fencer.
Here comes Curse Catcher. 1 damage to be dealt. And now Silvergill Adept revealing Master the Pearl Trident. Great start here for Nance. Got that with just a boring old wooded foothills. See if he sacrifices this on the end step. Looks like he will. Pretty straightforward deck. Just going to play some creatures, make them bigger. A little bit of interaction. Maybe a counterspell or two.
Yep. In the main deck here, only 2 copies of Spell Pierce and 2 copies of Dismember as spells that interact. Harbinger of Tides also counts in some spots.
There's a Lightning Bolt to take care of the Silvergill Adept, but Curse Catcher will take care of that Lightning Bolt. So, Gaudet gonna draw a card. Clearly he's got more spells to cast if he wants to get that Curse Catcher out of the way. Sulfur falls past the turn back. Nance will untap and take a draw.
Yeah, if he has something like Remand or Mana Leak, would make a lot of sense here.
Cavern of Souls doesn't care about your counter magic, however. Gonna name Murfolk with that. Now there's Master. In we go. For 3 with this fishy. Gaudet gonna go down to 15. You see the Remand in Gaudet's hand, so that's what he was setting up.
It's possible he still should have just cycled the Remand there.
Perhaps, yeah.
You know, that Remand's not going to get much better here. And, you know, Brandon needs to find, you know, creatures and removal spells at this point.
There's a Misty Rainforest. So it says counter spell if you do return that spell. So you're not going to, well, if you do return it, but you'll still get a card. Right, you'll still get the card, yeah.
Yes.
So you do get to do a little weird cycling of Remand there. Here's a Spreading Seas. Yo. Might be going after the old Sulfur Falls here. Oddly enough, there is no island yet here for Nance to island walk on.
I mean, it really depends what Brandon is trying to set up here, but it feels like when you have Remand in your hand and you're under the gun a little bit, you kind of just have to cycle it for something else.
Not getting any better.
Yeah. Now it looks likely that he might Remand this turn and then still have the Spreading Seas resolve. So in that sense, he would be behind a turn for the purposes of cycling towards something more productive.
Gaudet with a basic forest. Now here is the Remand. Could get Spell Pierced. Or you just let it resolve and cast it again. Either way. Yep, Remand's going to resolve. Gaudet will draw a card, Spreading Seas back in Nance's hand, at least momentarily.
And this is, in some ways, better here for Hunter, as now he can move it to the forest and cut Brandon off of a collar altogether.
That's kind of what I want to do. Oh, yeah. Now he gets to draw a card. It's got an island to walk over. You can comfortably pass the turn back. Gaudet without green mana. Oh, it looks like he just should draw a copy of Hinterland Harbor. But even a card like Tarmogoyf for Huntmaster of the Fells, not, I mean, it's fine, but not great.
Yeah, it's the issue is that, you know, he's not able to block as long as this setup stays in play. And this is one of the strengths of Murfolk, is a lot of decks in Modern are good at cluttering up the ground and blocking quite a bit, and that strategy only gets you so far against Murfolk.
Time to fire up the old Mutavault. Not quite a lethal attack just yet. This would be 8 points of damage if it all comes through. There's a Cryptic Command. That's a pretty juicy Spell Pierce target.
And now suddenly castable.
Very, very nice. Very nice of Hunter. However, he does have the Spell Pierce. Here's an attack for 8. Gaudet gonna go down to 1. you can see why this matchup is difficult for Team or Twin.
Yep. And you know, when Twin gets in this spot where it's their whole turn to fend off an attack through something like Cryptic Command, Deceiver, Exarch, or Pestermite doesn't allow it to block effectively, they kind of just get locked up. You can't get out from jams like this.
And that is going to do it. Brandon Gaudet is going to concede the game. Hunter Nance wins game number 1 very quickly here over Team or Twin with his Murfolk deck, which means we're going to very quickly go to the sideboard, take a look at what Brandon is working with his Team or Twin deck. Now, we mentioned how there are 5 twin creatures in 4 Deceiver, Exarch, and Abounding Crassus, and then 3 Splinter Twins. So you see them really kind of skimp on the package. That's because they want to try to play a normal game. So 2 Pyroclasms of Roast. It is a Static Caster, a Spellskite, a Keranos, God of Storms, 2 Dispel, 2 Blood Moon, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Thragtusk, and a Negate are the options here for Brandon.
I don't know if he wants to get away from the combo altogether, but I definitely want to have more removal in the matchup. 2 copies of Pyroclasm and a Roast seem awesome. I like bringing the Static Caster as well, even though it doesn't naturally kill very much. Still can be used alongside other things to add up to removal, and with 3 toughness, it can block a lot of 2/2s, assuming there's no Lord in play. I think the 2 copies of Thragtusk are fine in this matchup as well.
What do we see here for Mr. Nance?
A Dismember, 2 copies of Relic of Progenitus, 3 copies of Spellskite, a Hibernation, 3 copies of Tidebinder Mage, a Spell Pierce, 2 Dispel, 2 Unified Will. I think the counters are pretty solid in this matchup. The Dismember as well, and I could even see the 3 copies of Tidebinder Mage being an addition here, as Brandon did show green mana, and you can assume he has Tarmogoyf and possibly other threats.
Alrighty, well, these players shuffle up here for game number 2. In the meantime, we'll talk about the Summer Creature Collection here with Star City Games. We've got playmats, we've got sleeves, we've got bundles of some of our game night favorites.
Yeah, it's all available. The Summer Collection here, the Piglet, the Monkey, the Kraken, and Deathrite Salmon, available, as Cedric mentioned, on playmats, sleeves, and bundles. You can head over to starcitygames.com/creature collection to order your items today, or head over to our dealer booth at any Open or Grand Prix that we're vending at.
We'll have the Autumn Collection for you guys soon enough. That'll involve our friend the Hippo. Get to see the full playmat art on that, so I'm pretty excited about that. But Hunter Nance is number 12 on our Season 3 leaderboard, a player who we do see quite a bit now, and he is climbing up the ranks pretty quickly. From Raleigh, North Carolina, 22 years old, 2 Open Series top 8s, computer science major at North Carolina State University. He doesn't like cats. He's obsessed with cats.
Okay.
I don't know if that's
I don't know
healthy.
what makes someone a cat enthusiast versus what makes someone obsessed with cats. I don't know what the benchmarks are.
I think we may have to ask him.
Okay.
And then only non-related Magic activity, he loves the video game. A lot of our players actually love video games.
I mean, you get to scratch a lot of the same competitive itches. I mean, video games, sports, these are sports not necessarily associated with Magic players typically, but I think that most people who enjoy, competitive endeavors like Magic are going to find other associated things to be competitive about.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of former or current athletes, and then competitive video gaming, interest in things like League of Legends and StarCraft too. It permeates through a lot of our top players.
Yeah, we do find that a lot. Just between video games, I know Tom Ross, Brad Nelson used to be a scratch golfer. So you do find sports or video games between the players. A lot of players majoring too in either computer science or mathematics. I found that to be a common bond among the players as well. Just something you notice when you learn more about these guys that we see on a consistent basis here on the Open Series. Very similar interests. If I were playing in this tournament this weekend, I think I would have sleeved up Murfolk.
It looks pretty solid.
Yeah.
And, Spreading Seas is a very powerful card in Modern, and no deck makes better use of it than Murfolk. Capitalizes on mana stumbles. Island Walk's really powerful. It even has a small devotion flavoring in it.
A little touch with Master
A little
Waves.
touch.
I love the use of Cavernous Souls here in this deck. Both players appear to be happy with their 7 Misty Rainforests. How this game will begin here for Gaudet. Nance with an island into a Relic of Progenitus. That'll slow down Tarmogoyf and Snapcaster Mage. Quick on the trigger with the Relic.
Yep. No opportunity to respond to that with whatever it is that you would respond to
Don't
that
even
with.
think about it.
Don't even think about it. Not allowed. Not permitted.
Breeding Pool, the weapon of choice there for Gaudet as he heads to his second turn. Nice Desolate Lighthouse. Tarmogoyf. Pretty poor against Relic, as we know. There's a Silver Gaudet revealing Murfolk Regery. Nance will draw. Gaudet will draw. Third turn of the game. There's a Steam Vents. That'll enter the battlefield untapped. It appears. Brandon a little unsure of himself right now.
Your event is ready to start. Players in command at pod number 3.
It's hard, you know, the Teamer Twin deck, it positions itself as a combo deck in some matchups and kind of as a board control deck in others. And it feels like both of those positions are hard for Brandon to take in the matchup thus far. The combo's been hard to execute in the face of some counter spells and some bounce, some removal. And the control game involves a lot of blocking, and Brandon hasn't been able to do much of that either.
Here comes Silver Gaudet. Here's a Curse Catcher. It's a slow start here for both players. Each one having some mana issues. Though Nance has drawn his third land now.
Interesting that Brandon played that Steam Vents untapped the turn previous, did nothing with his mana, and had no land drop to make.
Yeah. Oh, well, this might be a Tidebinder mage, boy. Now, Tarmogoyf isn't much of a problem, but it's nice to have a target. And Brandon's got to start doing something, because the clock here is pretty healthy from Hunter.
And with the way the Murfolk deck plays, you just can't afford to be burning off these turns, because Hunter is going to be very disruptive to you when you decide to make a move here that's significant because of counter spells, bounce spells, lords, island walk, all that stuff.
There's a Dispel. Gaudet's going to Spell Pierce that. So Tidebinder Mage is going to bite the dust. Well, that doesn't mean Tarmogoyf untaps. Not right away, at least. It will untap when we go back to Gaudet's turn, but 3 damage will come through. And there's finally a bit of an exchange of resources. We were wondering when that was going to happen. Tarmogoyf checking in at a 2/3, instant and creature.
But Hunter basically got a full turn on the house there as Brandon played that Steam Vents untapped and then didn't do anything.
Gaudet looks like he's going to start off with Serum Visions. This will allow him to draw a card.
Players in the standard Premier IQ, that is time in the round. Active player is turn 0. You have 5 additional turns.
Split the difference with the Scry, one on top, one on bottom. There's a land for Gaudet. Hinterland Harbor. It'll enter battlefield untapped. Brandon will pass the turn back. Here's a Relic activation. Hunter going to remove creature from his graveyard. That'll scale down the Tarmogoyf. It was a 3/4 momentarily, because there's a sorcery added to the graveyard, but back down to a 2/3. Master of Waves to draw. Now the question is, how does Nance get through this Tarmogoyf? It is an annoying card for Murfolk to play against. I mean, he can always bust the Relic.
Yeah.
That's always a way to start things off.
Although busting the Relic once Brandon blocks is risky, because if Brandon has some spells to add to the graveyard, then things can go really poorly.
But I think we've gotten to the point now where if you're Hunter, it's time to start the test spells. I think that Mirror Reader is a great place to start. I don't love an attack on this turn because I feel like there's too much that can go wrong, but Mirror Reader, go. Let's start building a base here.
Yep. And he's got to be pretty happy with the fact that, Brennan's not doing very much with his mana. And as long as Brennan's willing to play that sort of game, Hunter can kind of hang back, develop his board, and be very cautious about it.
And Pyroclasm's pretty good. Curse Catcher will make him pay one more, but Pyroclasm's going to sweep some things away now. So Silverfield Up and Mirror Reader are going to bite the dust. There's a creature in the graveyard for Tarmogoyf now. So we're at creature, land, and instant. Excuse me, creature, instant, and sorcery. No land just yet. Here's an attack for 3. Relic will active. But it won't change the power and toughness of Tarmogoyf. So there goes the Spell Pierce. Now we'll go back to Nance. He's got to rebuild.
Now you get a sense of why Brennan was kind of hanging back there, not doing much with his mana. He was trying to just get a good Pyroclasm off. He was able to accomplish that.
Harbinger of the Tides. That'll bounce Tarmogoyf. Have to force Nance to redeploy. Pretty powerful stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a big fan of this card.
Yep. I mean, it fits into this deck so naturally.
I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that in Standard and other formats. Here's Tarmogoyf again. A Lightning Bolt in Gaudet's hand, Snapcaster Mage 2. So Nance going to get to work on his graveyard. Nance looking for land number 4. Got a couple copies of Master of Waves in hand. There is land 4. He can go to Regery, he can go to Master. Curious to see which way he wants to go.
There's also the issue of how much does he keep up appearances. I mean, he's tapped out here for in a couple spots. Brandon could have just killed him with the combo. He's been missing double red, and Hunter has to cast the spells and install on land, so there's some incentive for him to be a little aggressive about it. But Hunter is also playing a pretty dangerous game right here because he could die at a moment's notice, especially now with Brandon having access to a second red mana.
There's the Regery. Gaudet going to sacrifice Misty Rainforest. That's that second source of red mana you mentioned. Can search up a Steam Vents with that. Tarmogoyf's going to grow now that there's finally a land in the graveyard. Looks like it might be Lightning Bolt time.
And I'm not a big fan of the sequence here by Brandon because of Spell Pierce. I would prefer for him to bolt first. If Hunter goes ahead and pierces, then you can sack your fetch land and get a land tapped or untapped as appropriate. But doing it this way, now Hunter gets to trade a Spell Pierce that was looking like it was about to, become close to a dead card for one of your removal spells.
That's the second time we've seen Hunter play against someone this weekend, too, where a Spell Pierce that was close to dead actually ended up doing something.
Yeah. Got to do that against Danny Jessup the other day.
Yeah. There's Serum Visions. Time to scry here for Gaudet. Both cards going to go to the bottom. Not happy with what he saw. Still some good cards in hand, though. A lot of action here for Brandon. There's Snapcaster Mage. For example, now wouldn't be a bad time to flashback Pyroclasm. He's going to lose a Snapcaster Mage, sure. But Tarmogoyf is here. He can attack for quite a bit.
And it's important for Brandon to kind of pick the spot now to do it while the Relic is offline. If he waits for a spot where Hunter has a mana up, then Hunter can nuke all the graveyards and the Tarmogoyf dies as well.
Mutavault the draw. Here comes Master of Waves. Not going to bring a lot with it, just one elemental token. But here comes an elemental nonetheless. Gaudet wants to take a look. It's been a little while since I've seen Master. Don't see it in Standard anymore. But it does see play here in Murfolk, bringing along an elemental with it. And this is a good threat against Temur Twin. Most of their removal is red-based damage. Pyroclasm, Lightning Bolt, Fork Bolt, all that jazz. Tarmogoyf feeling frisky. Yeah, I want to block. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm totally into this block. We're cracking that relic on end step.
Yeah, and I love Hunter's patience here. He's not trying to blow him out inside of combat because the attack implies Brandon's got some trick up his sleeve. Doing it this way means he definitely is going to get the Goyf.
Yeah.
And the Elemental's a low cost to pay to be ensured that that happens.
There's a Huntmaster of the Fells. It's going to resolve. Wolf token. 2 life coming. And now it's going to crack that relic. See you later, Tarmo. And 2 damage on, nothing in the graveyard. That's that interaction. Go back to Nance. Lord of Atlantis, not a bad draw. Pretty good rebuild here, actually.
Yeah, this is a nice setup here. And if he can get his creatures up to 3/3, then he doesn't have to worry about the Huntmaster flipping next turn and starting to wear down his board. He's got a creature that with protection from red. The other 2 creatures are 3/3s. There's a Steam Vents in play, so Island Walk's good.
Yeah, this all works out pretty good. Can't bolt the Master.
Yeah.
You know, everything's working out pretty good here for Nance as he comes across for 4 points of damage.
And if Brandon picks apart his board, well, that sets back the Huntmaster from flipping at least one more turn.
Yep. We can't forget about the Mutavault that's out there for Hunter Nance, too. That's an extra attacker.
Yep. So right now, 2 sources of Island Walk in play, neither of which can be touched by the Huntmaster. If Brandon can kill one of them with a spell like Lightning Bolt, well, then he's still behind because the Huntmaster's not flipping. And Hunter might be able to squeeze out the last couple of points of damage this way.
Hey, even one thing we haven't even recognized yet either is that the graveyards are gone, so Snapcaster Mage's real bad now.
Yep.
And Gaudet has one of those in his hand. He also has a Bounding Crassus. Which isn't doing very much. Huntmaster's going to flip, and that's fine, but I'm not killing anything. I think, yeah, Brandon's coming to that realization, too, of, well, this is flipping. No, you can't shoot Master of Waves. I can promise you that much. That one's pro-red.
I mean, Brandon can try to do a little song and dance here of trying to cast 2 spells this turn to get it back over and so on and so forth. But, you know, he's only gaining 2 life in those sequences. He's not impacting the board. He's not putting himself in a position to block. And it's not really a path for anything. At this point, I feel like Brandon's just got to rip off the combo. That's his way to get out.
Well, here's another Master of Waves from Hunter. And this one's no joke.
Players in the Standard Premier IQ.
This also puts another point of power on the Mutavault.
Yep.
It is both a Murfolk and an Elemental, along with everything else.
So it's 6 power right now. And it has Island Walk.
I mean, Splinter Twin can still steal this game. If he's got a way to tap something here.
He's got a Crassus and Exarch in hand.
Right.
No, he needs to tap something. All right, slow down that. Does slowing down the Mutavault even do anything?
I think there's still 9 coming across.
I think
he needs
too.
2 things. Because one of the Masters is eligible to attack, the Mutavault and the 2 Lords.
Yeah, Master right now.
Any 3 of them is
big,
lethal.
Yep.
Any 3 of them is lethal.
You see Brandon, the biggest creature is the Mutavault, so that's the easiest one to tap down. Because it's getting bonuses all over the place.
And this just might be Xaxes.
Looks like 10. Yeah, Hunter.
Yep.
He's coming to that conclusion. And he's not going to play around anything. He's all in. If you got Lightning Bolt or whatever, Combust or something.
Lightning Bolt doesn't even really matter too much here because you're just down a Lord. It's not like you get blown out in combat because you have 2 sources of Island Walk.
Yeah. And Brandon's going to shuffle some cards around in his hand, but that's going to do it. Hunter Nance going to win this match over Brandon Gaudet, 2-0. Murfolk will take care of Teamer Twin. For Hunter Nance, he moves on to 11-3. I think unlikely he'll be able to draw in next round. You know, pairings and tiebreakers and all that stuff dictate that, but if not, I think we'll see him again next round.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, he was first place in the standings for quite a while, so if any X3-1 can make it, should be him. I think he played that game and that set of games very, very well. I think Brandon, there was some indecision there with some of the spots with his counter spells. I think that he was overvaluing them a little bit. Against Murfolk, the pressure is just on casting things efficiently because they have Cavern of Souls, they have Aether Vial, they have Spell Pierce. They're really efficient against playing against counter spells. And if you're trying to like trap them or just counter the critical Lord, I think that's typically going to be a worse game plan than just tapping out for yourself, trying to use your bolts and snapcasters proactively and win the race. Because we saw every time Brandon tried to sit back on the defensive, Hunter was able to work around that quite easily.
You just got to get those cards out of your hand.
Yeah, you just got to cast your stuff. And, you know, the cycling of Remand there, maybe Brandon does know that you can cycle there. Maybe he feels like he can get a better spot with the Remand. But to me, there's such a pressure on immediacy and using all of your mana every single turn to keep up with what Murfolk's doing that